I can't feel good unless I have some substance in me.
He hasn't had an easy life.
It's alcohol, drugs.
God loves me as I am, just like I am.
Heard her in the phone crying, waiting for some car to come. Ran me over. My dad crying on the floor. My mom didn't want to talk to me. What the heck did I do?
Because we're a small staff at the moment, we kind of have a lot of hats.
I do a little bit of everything, but my main priorities, I guess, is with the worship team. I'm the worship leader. I also recently started preaching, and I've been working with the youth for some time, but I transitioned that to now couples with kids.
She also helps me out with the worship ministry.
Being able to share with others in the personal way, like one-to-one, to when I get to preach in front of, the whole congregation, that's also something that I enjoy. I love that we get to work at church because we get to serve others, and that's something that I maybe get to do it translating material from Spanish to English. It could be praise and worship, praying with somebody. For us, it's a blessing to serve.
We were kind of scared of in the beginning because we knew our parents did such a good job in that. And I'm not of a person, she maybe is, she can speak with people, she's not shy, I am. And so for me, it's hard to speak with people. But now that I've started doing it, I've realized, God can use what we think we're not good at. One of the most important things as Christians, as followers of Christ, is that we gotta learn to be grateful in all times. When we don't have it all, and when we have much, gotta be grateful in everything. With God, even when we're working, even when we're at home and we're in debt and everything's not going the way that we were hoping for, being content, being grateful is something that you can learn as a Christian by knowing what God has done for us. I had gone through this time of disconnection with God. The years of rebellion in my life was the influence of the people that I allowed in my inner circle, like my friendships. My best friends were musicians. A lot of the things with musicians is that, hey, let's go party and all this. And so that introduced me to, for example, to alcohol. For a long time, I was like, no. And I chose to say no. And they were very persistent until one day I was like, all right, yeah. And they made a big deal about it. They're like, oh, look, Romero's about to get his first drink. That just opened the doors to being okay, permissible with a lot of things. The boundaries that I had set up, being raised up in a Christian home, I let go of them. And that just made me not just create some distance with God, but also create hatred towards him. Like I got upset for several things, and I would always blame God for it, to the point that it opened the doors to even, I know it sounds crazy, but to even suicide. I went, to the doctor, and they prescribed me meds. That just made it worse. I can't feel good about myself unless I have some substance in me. Whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's, being with my friends. My parents found out about, several things that I was doing. Broke my, I remember when my dad was in his office crying on the floor. I'd never seen my dad like that broken. And I was like, what the heck did I do, My mom didn't want to talk to me. There was a night where I realized that I let everybody down, went to this park, and it was around midnight. I remember that it was really dark. I decided to go on the street, and I laid down in the street because it was pitch black, and I said, God, end my life, next car that comes. And so I just laid there with my eyes closed, waiting for some car to just come and run me over. And I think I laid on that street for 30 minutes, a good 30 minutes, and no car passed by. So I got up and I kept saying, God, give me a sign. Like that wasn't sign enough, you know? And I started walking to the baseball field. I was like, God, give me a sign, like a shooting star or something. And I remember laying down on a bench in a baseball field and just looking up at the stars. And nothing. I was hoping for something. Nothing. And it was like God, in that moment, the stars were brighter than ever that night. And I looked around, didn't hear a thing. And it was in that moment that I was broken. And I said, I get it, God. And I got up. It took courage, but I went to the home and asked forgiveness to my dad, to my mom, and I said, I'm sorry for my denial, for my rebellion, for everything that I did to break y'all's hearts. But I know God is real, and I want to come back home and you know, like the prodigal son story, you know, and at that moment, you know, my dad didn't think twice. He embraced me, and we had a beautiful moment of love between my family. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, felt God say, okay, now tell her, you know, the truth about you in these areas. And it was hard for me because I was like, she's not gonna wanna be with me, you know, she's gonna end it right then and there. And I opened up and I told her about several of my past mistakes. And even though I heard her in the phone like crying, like I was like, oh man, it's over. But she said, okay, Jonathan, I forgive you. And I was like, what? She's like, it's I'm not gonna hold that against you. I know you're a different guy, a different man.
He has a beautiful story. He hasn't had an easy life. He decided to be brave. And it's crazy to hear him preaching now, to see his boldness.
Levi said, God is everywhere, but I don't get if I don't see him. And I explained to him, you see the trees moving, right? He's like, yeah, what's making them move? The wind. And I'm like, and I explained to him just with a simple thing like the wind. Well, you don't see the wind, but it's there. And sometimes God may move in a tremendous way where you see it, you know, like the trees bending and everything, but sometimes you don't see him, but he's there. If you can just realize that he's with you, your life takes a completely different shift.
He wrote a song about being aware of who God is. The title was When You Are Here, and I remember telling him why. Why when you are here? Because he is always here.
You've called me to move past the walls of my fears. You said, be strong and brave, I'll be with you, I'm always near. In the darkest of the valley, you are there. On the highest of the mountains, you are there. When I think that I'm alone, you are there. You are there.
Okay, God, I am not alone. I might feel like I'm alone, but you are here. You are present. You are my helper.
To behold how your love set me free. When the cross seemed too much, you thought of me. I'm aware of your presence, you are here. I give all I am in worship, you are here. I put trust over feelings, you are here. You are here.
I've loved playing, you know, music, the piano and the guitar at a young age. And I started songwriting around when I was 12 years old. Dad opened the doors to me with a worship ministry in the youth group. My dad was a songwriter. The first song that I wrote was using my dad's lyrics and putting music to them. This is a calling, you know, this is something that God is gonna use me for. I wasn't sure if it was just for that time or for the long run, but it looked like He meant it for the long run.
When you are here, every giant will fall. Hope will arise as we sing out to you. And we know you're here. Our hearts hear the call to be strong and courageous, believe in
When I started working for the church in that field in songwriting, I would send songs, and out of maybe 10 that I would send, maybe one would get picked. She would always be persistent and tell me, don't just shelve those songs, like God will use them at some point, you know. And she always kind of has taught me to believe in myself, even in the areas that I'm like, that I feel rejection or that I feel like, nah, God won't use this, you know.
your love is strong. Your love is strong. Your love is strong. Oh, your love is strong.
Very interesting to see my sons. They all sing in their own way. Like my son will start singing his little song, and for example, my son Ezekiel will just start doing the melody. And I just think it's so interesting how God just reveals himself in different ways to different people, even at different ages. There's a message in this song that speaks to my heart, that speaks to my soul, and I just can't help myself but sing along. We're listening to this song, and something of those lyrics just spoke to my son, and he just started singing that over and over, and I just thank God there, because I'm like, wow, God, like, I'm not telling him, hey, listen to the song, hey, sing along. He just chose to sing along because there was something in that message, there was something in those lyrics that spoke truth.
I get home and they want to play. I mean, I'm drained, my battery's drained, and they want to, and as soon as I walk through the door, they're like, Daddy. There's been days where I just want to be like, leave Daddy alone, you know, give me 10 minutes, give me some time. But then I realized, like, these are moments that I may not have tomorrow. So if I have them today, be grateful for that. And I realize that those days that I'm able to think like that, at the end of the day, I feel like I've accomplished something. Even though it was just playing with my boys and making dinner with my wife, at the end of the day, you feel content, you feel grateful, because you're like, you know what? You overcome those hurdles that I think many people, if not everybody, face daily, which is, give me some time to myself, I'm tired.
I can't really tell any of my boys who they are. They will learn as they grow who God made them to be. And that's what I pray, that we can help them and guide them to learn and get to know God each and every day.
At night, we've gotten used to that we both pray. So sometimes, I'm like, baby, you already prayed for them? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. And so I'm like, but then I hear Levi, Daddy, you haven't prayed for us. I'm like, but Mommy prayed for you. But I realized, you know, that's beautiful.
Love them. Sometimes you might not have all the perfect answers. Sometimes it might seem super difficult. If we are able to love one another above all of that, God will work through it. God will work through that love.
Thanks and forgiveness is two pillars that I think for families are so critical to be able to raise kids up in a healthy family.
To not give up on yourself as a parent, to not give up on up on yourself as a person. God loves me as I am, just like I am. There's a lot of things that God still needs to work in me, but He will do it. He will be faithful to continue this work, to finish this work in me.
Every day I have to learn to teach that word to my kids, apply it to our own lives as parents, apply it to my life as a father, as a husband, and as a son. And little by little, I'll understand more and more what this life is about and how to fight the battles, not on my own strength, but with the help of God through His Word. I met my wife.
So that's a bit of a funny story. We were making a line because we were doing the yearbook pictures.
2-3 people from each other.
And I'm a very talkative person, so I was seeing all these people and I was saying hi to everybody.
And her friend was like, "Oh, hey, Becky, it's his birthday." And she was like, "Oh, happy birthday." And she gave me a hug without even knowing me. And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
And we just started talking.
And we were boyfriend and girlfriend for 2 years.
God is love, and love comes from God. In 1 John, the Bible tells us that God is not only all-loving, but that He actually is love itself. The heart of the Parent Compass television show is to bring the transforming love of God to families everywhere. In every Parent Compass episode, true stories reveal family struggles and how their lives were radically changed by the love of God. Parent Compass, an award-winning television series, is completely funded by people like you. If you have been touched by God and you want to share God's love to others, would you please pass it on? Jesus tells us to go into all the world and to tell about Him. With your donation, you allow us to take this television show into many different nations and in many different languages, free of charge. And a portion of your donation goes to Parent Compass Outreach to feed starving children. Your gift does so much. To make your tax-deductible gift, go to parentcompass.tv/donate. That's parentcompass.tv/donate. And thank you for sending love and hope around the world.